Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Khalfani. Welcome to another edition of Let's Talk with Dr. Akil Khalfani. I'm always glad to be here with you and to share and to explore some things we want to talk about and consider. Today, we're talking about the cost of racism. Um, as we prepare to do this, though, I'm going to ask you all to uh, call your friends and send them and share this link. Go ahead and let's make sure we get everybody on here and we can have a lively discussion about racism in the United States, especially with the incident that's going on with Breonna Taylor's case. We're going to have another conversation in the future. We'll have some folks come on and we'll have a Q&A about that. But today I'm just going to have a little conversation about it, and we're going to encourage you all to join us and be engaged in a dialogue, right? So feel free to list any questions and join us at just to find out more about a campaign at www.akilkhalfani.com. That's www.akilkhalfani, and that'll go up on the screen in a minute. We want you to also think, as we're preparing for this right now, there's something else important that I want you to remember, and that is that two things. One is that I sent out a post earlier today that you can register to vote in New Jersey online now. So if you go to the New Jersey State website, or if you check we're going to put it on both on our website. It's not on the website yet, but it'll be up there by tonight. And then it's also, I posted it online in my Facebook group. So if you do that, you'll see it. And I'm also going to post it on Instagram. We're going to post it everywhere. But you can now actually register to vote online. So I encourage you to pass that on to people, especially folks who are formerly incarcerated, that they know that they can now register to vote if they're not already. Sometimes they're actually on release. People are getting registered to vote, but we need them to actually engage in the vote. We need them to do something with the right that they have to vote, to address these issues that are going on about racism in America, about the impact of racism and all the atrocities that are going on and continue to go on. But that's something that's important to do. All right. Once again, this is Dr. Khalfani. Go ahead and put a like up there. Go ahead and say, I rock with Doc, because we're going to rock together. We're going to change this thing. We're going to be rolling around solid as a rock and moving through it. Now, you see behind me, it says, go off the line and vote. So what I'm going to ask you to do, encourage everybody to do, is to vote off the line, because that's what we have to do to really bring about some systemic change here in our community, here in the 10th Congressional District. And we're on different places in different counties, but is to go off the line. We've got to recognize that no one is going to bring this change about except for us. So if we don't work hard at it, then you can rest assured that it's not going to happen. We have to make sure that we are fully represented and that the issues that we're concerned about are going to be addressed in a way that is thorough and holistic. You can't have that happen if you're not engaged in the process. And we want everybody to be engaged in the process. I put a link up on my website that tells you all the different, that tells you about the district. So you can see all the municipalities, all of there's 18 municipalities and 3 counties. We're in Essex County, Hudson County, and Union County. In Essex County on the ballot, we're going to be on 3D. Hudson County, we're on 3C. And Union County, we're 3D. And you'll see us listed as an independent, and we're running against the establishment. So, when you think about what the establishment brings to the table, think about what somebody else who's not part of the establishment is bringing to the table. And that's going to be the thing that really changes what's going on. We need you all to recognize that you're an important part of going against the establishment, an important part about changing the status quo of things. And if we don't see that and we don't realize that those are the things that we have to do, that our collective energy and effort is the thing that's going to really bring about the change that we want to see. And if we don't do it, it's not going to happen. So make sure that you're engaged, and that you do the things necessary to bring about that change. So the first thing that we're going to do in terms of voting is that we're going to vote off the line, right? Either go off the line. We're going to change our slogan. We've been using Rock with Doc, but I really want y'all to think about, we're going to put this up, and that is vote off the line. And so when you vote off the line, that you give us collectively the opportunity to be elected, because we have to challenge the status quo. We cannot be satisfied with things as normal, because normal is not helping us. Normal is why we get things like the uh, murders that go on in our community, and the response to it, where there's no consequences for those who murder, maim, and brutalize us. And so we've got to make sure that we're addressing that. And we address that in a holistic fashion, because we want to make sure that we're not being brutalized in our neighborhoods. We want to create a sense that when we have people in our own neighborhoods who brutalize and murder us, that we want to push our brothers and sisters to be more conscious about um, our collective value, right? We have got to get to the place where we work together, and we build and bring our collective strength together. And when we do that, that's going to change the foundation of how we treat each other. That's going to change the foundation of how we're seen by the rest of the world. And this campaign is one that creates space for everybody that's within the 10th district and beyond, because as running for the U.S. Congress, we represent everybody. And so we are, while we're representing everybody, we're going to make sure that the issues that specifically address our community, our communities, are going to be addressed as well. So make sure that you send in your messages, and so that we make sure that we address them. We want to make sure that we invite your friends. Tell everybody to come and join us. Join us here on WhatsApp. I'm sorry, we're not on WhatsApp. We're on Facebook and YouTube. Everybody join us. And we're going to repost this one, as we've done with some of the others. We got a lot of attention on some of these videos. This one here is on the cost of racism. So once again, our website is www.akilkhalfani.com. And we are going to encourage you to continue to think about voting off the line. Now, there's an article that came out today, or maybe it came out yesterday. I saw it today. And it was rather shocking. It came out through Yahoo Finance. And this article by Christine Myers paints a really interesting picture, because what she says is that racism has cost the U.S. economy guess how much? Anybody got an idea? $16 trillion in 20 years. And this is from a Citibank report. $16 trillion. That's just in 20 years. $16 trillion. Think about that. Now, the thing about Citibank doing this, right? It's useful, but what it takes out of context is that even the $16 trillion that we're talking about here, what they have done is they've monetized the nature of the impact of racism. See, because for some people, they only see things, they only value it when you put it in economic terms. But for those who are impacted by racism, the cost of racism is negative impact on families. It's the African American and Latinos and other folks who are impacted by racism, that they don't, their families are not stable because of racism, right? If you think about the prison industrial system in the United States, and the reason why one of our primary campaign measures is about, our campaign platforms is about criminal justice and policing reform, is because the impact of racism is that folks are criminalized. Not that they are more criminal than anybody else, but they are criminalized as uh, what's the name of the book? The New Jim Crow says that there's a condition that was created within the courts and the social justice or the I'm sorry the criminal justice system that criminalized black and brown people, right? And so if we look at that, then we begin to understand that the things that have been done by those folks, that the economic loss that has been experienced by the numbers of African American and Latino men who are in prison in the United States, the negative financial impact since the 70s has been tremendous. And I don't think the $16 trillion even touches it, because that means that those folks who are in the criminal justice system have not had the opportunity to engage in gainful employment, have not had the opportunity to participate in certain types of occupations after they've come out because they've had a record. And so all of those things have had a negative impact. And the other piece that impact is on the psyche, the mental state of being of African Americans and Latinos, right? People who are on the recipient side, if you will, of racism. That we have been negatively impacted. Even like if you think about the mental impact of someone driving down the street and they're have this in the back of their heads about being self-conscious about the police being around, right? So that's the kind of subconscious and the subtle, but not so subtle ways in which people are impacted by racism. And so we have to think about the cost that Citibank is talking about are the financial costs, but the costs that are not financial are equally as powerful and palpable. That they also have a financial cost, because therefore somebody who has who's gone through the process or has had think about this in terms of the cost of racism. That when you think about segregated and poorly funded and poorly equipped schools, the cost on racism of racism is the cost that those young folks have not been adequately prepared to take over the jobs in their neighborhoods or the corporate positions, or become the next professors and teachers, the next lawyers and judges, the next medical doctors, the next scientists. And so then those costs are multiplied by that is the cost of racism is multiplied by the cost of economic differentiation, right? So that people are poor, that is now multiplies what happens in terms of how people are affected by race. And then when you add gender on top of that, we see that these things that they overlap, right? So as a sociologist, I'm going to look at this different than Citigroup. And so when Citi is talking about the financial impact being $16 trillion in 20 years, that is multiplied in many ways. That one of the things it talks about in there says that $13 trillion of business revenues and potential 61 million jobs that could have been created each year because of the impact of racism for Black entrepreneurs is lost in the United States. Think about that. That is those numbers, right? 6 million jobs are astronomical. Those are the kinds of things that we have to think about. What has been the impact for racism, just on the financial cost of racism, just with the issues regarding Breonna Taylor? How many hours have people been out of their have been not working because their legitimately upset about what's going on or what is not going on, that is, in terms of prosecution, with folks that are protesting and bringing up other issues regarding the murder of Breonna Taylor. So we have to bring that stuff to bear. And there were protests and rallies all over the place today. One right downtown in the city of Newark. There's going to be others. I'm participating in another event on Saturday, and so that each of these events have have come about as a result of uh, racism. And so the cost of racism is that we're talking about it right now. The cost of racism is um, multiplied by the various variables that we have to look at. Once again, I said gender, race, and class. All of those things are multipliers of the impact. And so, if Citigroup was to include all of those different variables in their analysis, then we would have another kind of we'd have another kind of discussion about the impact of the cost of racism, just the financial cost of racism. And so, when you think about those things, it lingers. And then if we talk about that here, this gives us another example to talk about, right? If we think about the fact that they're saying that racism costs um, several $trillion. I'll say that number again, $13 trillion in 20 years. I'm sorry, $16 trillion in 20 years. What is the impact and the cost of racism from the time of slavery to the present? And what is the financial cost just to those descendants of slavery, to the descendants of sharecropping, convict leasing, right? Those who are impacted by Jim Crow. What has been the cost, the financial cost? How much money have African Americans lost because of racism? And then by in turn, how much money has the US economy lost because of that? Because African Americans spend a lot of money on various things, homes and various goods and resources. So if we had not been the recipients, the negative recipients of racism, then our investment in goods and services and houses and other things, cars and other stuff, and businesses in the United States would be quadrupled. But for the sake of racism, that's not the case, right? And those are the limiting factors that have continuously impacted the financial bottom line in the United States. This is Dr. Akil Khalfani. You're watching us here on Let's Talk with Akil Khalfani. I invite you to join us to check out our website at www.akilkhalfani.com. That's AKILKHALFANI. It's about to tell you about where I work. And I am a professor, so that goes without saying. But here today, we're talking about my bid for the U.S. Congress and the issues that are relevant for us to think about with regard to what Congress must address. So that's why I say reparations now, because Congress must address reparations now. There's no delaying. There's no 10-year commission. There's no all of these things we've got to have healing. We've got to have and that healing comes with addressing this very point that Citi has talked about. that racism has cost uh, African Americans. Well, they're not necessarily talking about just African Americans. They're talking about the cost of racism in the United States and U.S. businesses and so on and so forth. But I'm putting a twist on that to talk about, to focus on African Americans and what has happened to us with regard to this whole thing. And we don't look at it that way, then we are. We've got to address this from a completely different perspective. And I encourage you to read the article. And, there's a bunch of sociologists and economists who've talked about these things. We oftentimes, as scholars, we write articles, we write books, and we talk to ourselves or we talk to each other. And that's important. But it's equally important for us to have a conversation with the masses, with the people, and to put our scholarship to work in governance and in community service organizations, all those places we need to put our scholarship to work. So here is what I'm doing, right? I have a master's, a bachelor's, a master's, and a PhD in sociology and African studies. And so now I'm bringing to bear that training that I've been afforded, that training that I worked hard to do and to get. But now I'm bringing that to bear here as a politician. But I'm not your typical politician. That's why I'm not on line A or B, right? In some places it'd be A, some places it may be B, some places it may be C. But we are here running off the line, and I'm encouraging you to make sure that you look off the line so that we can do the things that are necessary to challenge the line. In Essex County, we're 3D. So forget about A, B, and C. Go all the way down to D. And I'm not running with anybody else. I'm running all by myself. So if you see somebody, the people next to me, I'm not with them. It's just me by myself. That's why it's my name with nothing above it, around it. 3D. Hudson County, 3C. Union County, 4D. And when you look at those places, let me just tell you each of the municipalities that are there. In Hudson County, we're in Bayonne and we're in Jersey City. In Union County, we're in Hillside, Linden, Rahway, Roselle Park, and Union Township. In Essex County, we are in West Orange, South Orange, Orange, Newark, Montclair, Maplewood, Irvington, Glen Ridge, East Orange, and Bloomfield. So that's where we're at. So when you go to Essex County to vote in any of those municipalities I just listed, look for 3D. Don't worry about what it says on the line. Don't worry about who's on line A, B, or C when it comes to the congressman for the 10th Congressional District. Start at the top where it says Congress and go all the way straight down to 3D. When you're looking at in Hudson County, don't worry about who's on the line anywhere else. Go straight down to 3C. And when you're in Union County, go to 4 and go straight down to 4D. That's how we're going to vote, straight across. And anybody else is subsequent to another thing, and we're not going to focus on that because we've got to bring about some positive change. No one's going to do it but us, and nobody else is addressing these issues in this way. I don't think that they necessarily have the interest to doing that because most of them are pushing the status quo, and that's our problem right now. Is the folks who are pushing the status quo, and we're on the thinking about things as a status quo. There it is, right there in front of you. Essex is 3D, Hudson is 3C, and Union is 4D. So join us in those places. And our new line we're pushing is vote off the line. So let's get back to this discussion. If anybody got any questions, please send them in the chat. Tell your friends to join us. This is Dr. Khalfani. We're right here every Thursday at 8 o'clock. So if you haven't been here before, join us. Vote off the line, and join us every Thursday for Let's Talk with Dr. Akil Khalfani. So as we're talking, the thing I want us to think about is that, you can tell us, what do you think the cost of racism is? What do you think? Do you agree with what Citibank is saying? Do you think that it's a different number or a different type of cost altogether? What is your take on it? Because that's how we have to. That's how we're going to engage in this dialogue, so that we move the agenda forward. See, if we don't move the agenda forward, somebody else's agenda is going to be addressed, and we got to come together and work hard, push our individual thinking. I was telling the students this week about in we're looking at culture, talking about cultural relativism and ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism is when you look at something and you believe that your way of seeing things is better than somebody else, whereas cultural relativism is talking about looking at things from a collective group perspectives and appreciating it for what it is. Because in the end, what they bring to the table is just different. It's not necessarily one is better or worse than the other. It's different. You like this, they like that. Different. Both of y'all eating, but y'all eating something different. And that what you're eating comes from your cultural foundation. And what we're eating here, right? If we use that figuratively, is that what we're eating, what we're building on is our collective strength. And we have to find out how we are stronger together. We have to see that we're stronger together than we are apart. So it doesn't matter if you're Haitian, African American, or Ghanaian, or Nigerian, or from Guyana, or from Brazil, or from Haiti, or Jamaica, any of those places. We've got to come together and work and resolve our issues. And we got to build partnerships with our other folks, right? Whether you're a Muslim or Jewish or Irish or Italian, we got to find partnerships and work together to bring about some positive change. That's how we bring it about. We've got to see that those are the things we have to work on. Whether you're Ecuadorian or Venezuelan, maybe I pronounced that wrong, Venezuelan, Mexican, or Panamanian, um, um, any of the places in South and Central America, people who are here, right? Many of them been here for a very long time. Many of them came recently. Doesn't matter. The reality is that we've got to address those issues. And so the cost of racism has had an impact on things. I mean, think about this: building the wall, right? On one level, it's about immigration. Another level is about racism. And so the amount of U.S. Taxpayer dollars that's being spent on this wall is part of the cost of racism, part of the cost of white supremacy. These are the things we've got to look at. These are the costs that are there that we haven't talked about. The cost of being at war, right? Somebody asked me the other day, she said that, so you're going to talk about war? I said, yeah, we need to talk about the wars because the wars are costing money. And part of those issues with the wars are that wars oftentimes are with people that black and brown people. Uh, think about all the different wars, the physical wars, the wars on drugs, all of those things have been an attack on people of color. And uh, the cost of that has been really, you probably couldn't even calculate it. If we think about the cost of the Rockefeller drug laws, right? That's the cost of racism right there. Because if somebody had one particular type of cocaine, another person had another, that those things played out differently. Um, Mandatory sentencing, right? All these things have had a negative impact, a traumatic impact on inner cities, poor people, people of color. And we've got to come to terms with that. Got to find a way to pathways to healing the trauma. Right? There's a great book by I think it's Russ McKinnon. He wrote a book called My Grandmother's Hands. Look that up if you haven't had a chance to. It's a great read. Another book is White Rage. Forget the author right now, but all these books are powerful books to help us to see the world in a different way. She provides great historical analysis of the things that we've encountered in the United States. So I encourage you to read those texts and to I have a lot of friends who've written a lot of books, and we're going to use their scholarship in our development of legislation. We're not going to just be shooting from the hip on legislation. We're going to be using um, we're going to be employing the science of academics to improve our legislative process, to improve the society. See, what happens is that sometimes we write a lot of stuff and it goes to each other and between each other, and unveil and reveal all kinds of great, powerful information and insights to understand the world in which we live and how that world plays itself out. But most of the time, that doesn't make its way to legislation. And we need to be training up legislators or have legislators who are academics, and then we have a different reality, right? We need to have the people who are running police departments. I don't think they always necessarily have to be a police officer, have been a police officer, but it would be great to have somebody who has a PhD in criminal justice to be either the chief of police, right, or the captain. That we have that one can be a civilian and the other one can be someone who is from the law enforcement, and we have a partnership there. We've got to have different ways of thinking about this. We cannot keep moving the same way because the cost is too high. The $16 trillion is too high. The cost of lives is too high. This is Dr. Khalfani. This is Let's Talk with Dr. Khalfani. Thank you for joining us. We're almost going to wrap up shortly, but I want you to remember to go and tell your friends to come join us. We're going to replay this video, but remember to vote off the line. Vote off the line. And as you vote off the line, let me give you the call levers for voting off the line. If you're in Essex County, we're on 3D. If you're in Hudson County, we're in 3C. If you're in Union County, we're 4D. So vote off the line and make sure you click one of those. Don't worry about who used to be in office and why they were in office and how they got there. We don't even have time for all of that, because the people who are there now are not willing to rock the boat. We've got to come in and we have to hit it hard and make sure that the things that we've encountered in the past are no longer acceptable. We have to realize collectively that we have the power to bring about change. And we have the responsibility to leave a positive legacy for our children and for the generation. It doesn't matter if you don't have children yourself, but for the generations to come after us, for the next 2-3 generations, we've got to leave a legacy that is powerful. And that I always say this, and maybe you've heard me say this before, but I'm going to say it here again. And the question for me always is, what pyramids are we building today? Right? If we go back to ancient Kemet or Egypt, you'll see that the pyramids there are 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years old, right? And some are younger, but then there's others that haven't been even dug up yet, all around the world. It's pyramids. And what those pyramids tell us is that they left a statement about their time. What pyramids are you willing to build today? I'd love to hear what all y'all have to say about that. What pyramid are you willing to build today? And I'm not necessarily talking about the physical structure. What are you going to leave the generations that come behind you? What is the legacy that you're going to leave? I'm not going to die from this earth without leaving a legacy, not just for my own children, but for the people of the world, because somebody left a legacy for me. Somebody paved the way for me. My parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, my great-great-grandparents, and then people outside of them, right? my aunts and uncles, my cousins, um, but then outside of my own personal family, you got to look at all these other places and people who've contributed, right? Fannie Lou Hamers, Rosa Parks. Some of them are still alive today. Let's look at Claudette Colvin, right? She was one of the original people who was on the case about the Birmingham bus boycott, right? She decided that she was going to stay on the bus and she wasn't gonna get up. They didn't use her case. I mean, they didn't use her as the public persona. They used Rosa Parks, but she was before Rosa Parks, and she still tells her story today. But Rosa Parks was one of her mentors. Claudette Colvin, still alive, representing strong. We just lost John Lewis, representing strong. We lost Malcolm X at a young age, Martin Luther King at a young age. All of these people who stood for something that stood outside their comfort zone. Cesar Chavez, right? Stood for the workers in California, those who picked grapes and other agricultural stuff. He was one of a unions people, like just like my father was a union man, right? That stood for stuff that stepped outside of their comfort zone and did the things necessary to make it happen. Are you willing to come with me to make that happen? That's what I need you to do. All of you out there. I don't care if it's 2 of you or 200,000 of you. We need all of you to come up and figure out how you're going to be in this campaign, and then figure out how after the campaign is over, we're going to win legislation. You know, people keep asking me, well, what are you going to do after you get into office? We're going to work hard, just as hard as we are working to campaign. We're going to work equally as hard. The difference is we'll have another paid professional staff to make that happen. We're going to have folks in place. We have legislation we're already working on. That's how you do it. You come to the table ready to work. You bring all of your skills to the table, and then you bring people around you who are smarter than you. So I'm looking to bring the people who are smarter than me, who know how to work on legislation, who know the legal sides of things, who have contacts with the people. And those are the things and the people and the places we're going to be and do things that are going to be way outside the box of what the status quo has been doing. Now, I'm a registered Democrat, been for all of my life. But today I'm running as an independent because we've got to shake up things. We've got to make sure that the status quo is no longer acceptable, and that those who are in it for the status quo know that what they're doing is not acceptable, because that's the only way we bring about a real transformation. We've got to have something systemic, because racism is systemic, because poverty and impoverishing structures are systemic, because sexual exploitation of women is systemic. So we've got to have systemic opposition to those things. We could have another whole show on the cost of sexism. You talk about 16 trillion, the cost of sexism, just alone the dollar amount that women make to men. That alone, right? Roughly 85 cents to the dollar. That alone. Women are 50%, in some community more, of the population. So the extent to which women have been excluded from certain occupations and have, have had limited access to resources, have had limited access to upper management positions, not because they didn't have the skills, but because of discrimination, because of sexism, because of misogyny. That's why we're here today talking about the cost of racism, because these costs continue to negatively impact the financial stability of American society and the stability period of American society. So what is the cost of racism? Way more than that 16 trillion. And we've got to begin to address it both financially and all the other ways in which it impacts us. So the psychological impacts, right? The access to jobs, the stability of the family, all of those things we have to talk about. We have to think about. We have to work on them differently. For those of you who don't know, I'm Dr. Akil Khalfani. I'm running for U.S. Congress in the 10th Congressional District here in the state of New Jersey. You can visit my website at www.akilkhalfani.com. That's AKILKHALFANI.com. We're asking you to vote off the line. Vote off the line, right? We need to have a song with that. Vote off the line. I might have to develop it. Vote off the line. Vote off the line. But we want you to vote off the line. And when you vote off the line in Essex County, we're going to put it up there for you. Essex County is 3D. Hudson County, 3C. Union County is 4D. So you should be getting your ballots in mail real soon. When you get your ballot, you don't have to wait until November the 3rd. You can go vote for Khalfani as soon as you get your ballot. And whomever you want to vote for president and for senator and all the other down ballot issues. There's 3 ballot issues for the state of New Jersey. So make sure you study up and read on them. If you don't have your ballot yet, you can go online, especially to Essex County, and you can see both the ballot issues, and you can see where you are on the ballot, what you have to vote for on the ballot. So each county is going to have something online for you. Essex County's is already up there, and Hudson County's is up there. Union County will be up there soon. Spoke with them today. So what you can do is just lock in your brain. 3D in Essex. I live in Hudson. 3C. Lock it in your brain. I'm in Union. 4D. Vote off the line for powerful transformation, for a progressive independent voice, right? A progressive, independent, democratic voice, with the change and the potential of having a change on the Supreme Court. We need a strong person. I'm arguing, we need a strong person in Congress who can go to battle when we need to go to battle, who can stand up and, if we have to filibuster, we can. If we have to do something to bring about that level of change, that we can do those things. That's what we need. We need the strength and the commitment to work hard and to have the knowledge and the information needed to bring about the type of struggles that we need to have with everybody else, and then to build the partnerships. So don't get me confused. It's not just we don't always fight. We have to also find how we make deals with in Congress. You'll never get anything passed if you don't know how to negotiate. You don't know how to have what I call courageous conversations, right? You can have those courageous conversations that are uncomfortable, but that are needed to get things passed. So we're going to, when we get in office, we're going to do those things. We're going to have those courageous conversations, and we're going to push the envelope. We're going to do the things necessary to bring about positive change in the 10th Congressional District. So I'm getting ready to get off of here now. If you have any closing questions, send them to me. But right now, just a reminder, this is Dr. Akil Khalfani. I'm running for U.S. Congress in the 10th Congressional District here in the state of New Jersey. Thank you for your time. I thank you for listening. And I will be back every Thursday at 8 o'clock right here with Let's Talk with Dr. Akil Khalfani Our website is www.akilkhalfani.com, and we're voting off the line. So make sure you vote off the line and you stay with us. Stay tuned. And we do that in Essex County College, in Essex County. We vote off the line in Essex County at 3D. We vote off the line in Hudson County in 3C. And we vote off the line in Union County at 4D. Don't worry about anybody else on there. Pretend like you didn't even see them, because they can't do what we need done. We're going to roll together, and we're going to be powerful together when we get into Washington, D.C. I'm going to take all of y'all with me. We're going to go to Washington, D.C. together, and we're going to have a transformation party, right? In Nigeria, they talk about bringing Oya. Oya, come in and bring some transformation. We'll bring transformation, and we'll speak that into being. So we'll let that be. So we're knocking down doors. We're moving things through. And I thank you for coming with me as we do this, and we have this transition, this transformation, because this is about us and not about me. It's about we, because we come together and we work hard to bring about the things that are going to be necessary to change what's in front of us, so that what's in front of us is behind us. And what's in front of us in the future is something that's new and positive and transformative. That's how we're going to rock and roll. Thank you very much. And everybody have a good night. I'll see you next week. Peace.